This is what Goff had to say when talking about changing coaches before the slam. She said, yeah, it was like a very sudden decision. Gavin became available. I just felt this was the best decision for my game, at least, and I had to go with what I was feeling. I think Matt is a great coach and a great person, and 100% loved working with him. Yeah, I mean, we obviously had a very successful partnership, but I'm just looking at long term. I know Gavin has had some experience with this before, so hoping I can just take on his knowledge and see what can happen. So the knowledge that Gavin McMillan has is he actually worked with Sabalenka to get her serve working because, of course, Coco Gauff's serve over the last couple of months has been really shaky and a lot of double faults. And Sabalenka before 2023, also a lot of double faults. And this is the guy that helped Sabalenka. So
Wimbledon legend Pat Cash just ended the debate about Coco Gauff's serving struggles with one brutal statement that has everyone talking. While critics have spent years dissecting every fault in her serve, Cash claims the entire problem could have been fixed in 5 minutes. Yeah, you heard that right. 5 minutes. His explanation exposes how the tennis world completely fumbled what should have been the easiest coaching fix in history. So here's my question for you. When a Wimbledon champion says a Grand Slam winner's biggest weakness could have been solved in 5 minutes, who dropped the ball more? The coaches who didn't fix it, or the system that let it drag on for years? Let me know in the comments because this situation is absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, definitely serving better. I mean, when I can serve well in some games I did, it's definitely an added threat. I think I didn't serve that well. And yeah, I mean, obviously I have to be able to counter that and also be as aggressive too as she is at times. So I think it's just, changing my playing style a little bit, which is difficult because for me, it's like I approach clay and I play this one way for however long clay season is, 6 to 8 weeks, or I don't know. And then I feel like when I go hard, I don't have to change as much, but I still have to adjust it a little bit. And I know in grass I do. And I feel like by the time I find it, it's, already time to play, and it's difficult. But I don't know. I have faith that I can make these adjustments. I can do well here. I really do want to do well here. I'm not someone who wants to write myself off grass this early in my career, but I definitely need to make some changes if I want to be successful here.
Let's talk about Coco Gauff's serve, shall we? Because if you've watched even 5 minutes of tennis commentary over the last few years, you've heard approximately 7,000 discussions about her serving problems. Analysts breaking down her ball toss, commentators questioning her motion, social media experts who've never held a tennis racket offering their brilliant solutions. It's been the most talked about technical flaw in tennis, treated like some unsolvable mystery that requires years of analysis and countless coaching adjustments to maybe, possibly, hopefully fix someday. Except according to Pat Cash, the guy who actually won Wimbledon and knows a thing or two about playing elite tennis. The whole thing could have been solved in approximately 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Let that sink in while you process the absolute absurdity of this situation. Cash recently dropped this bomb while speaking as an ambassador at the Bank of China Hong Kong Open, and his comments have completely blown up the narrative around Gauff's serving struggles. Because what he's essentially saying is that the tennis world has been massively overthinking a problem that had a simple, straightforward solution all along. Here's his exact quote. Gauff's serve could have been a 5-minute fixing job, but she has taken her years to sort it out. The shade in that statement is genuinely impressive. Cash isn't just saying the fix was simple. He's pointing out that years were wasted on something that should have been handled immediately. That's not coaching advice. That's a full-blown indictment of everyone involved in Gauff's development. Now, before we get into why this matters so much, let's establish what we're actually talking about here. Gauff's serving issues aren't some minor technical quirk that occasionally shows up under pressure. This has been a defining struggle throughout her entire professional career.
It was revealed today that Coco Gauff made some major coaching changes just days ahead of this year's US Open. ESPN reported that Matt Daly, who Coco brought on after last year's US Open, is leaving her team. She's still working with her longtime coach, Jean-Christophe Farrell, but she's bringing in a biomechanical coach, Gavin McMillan. McMillan is most known for helping Aryna Sabalenka with her service struggles, as the world #1 infamously struggled with a high double fault count in 2022. And we know Coco isn't quite confident right now with her serve, hitting upwards of 23 double faults in recent matches.
She's double faulted at crucial moments in major matches. She's visibly fought with her serve mechanics during Grand Slam events. She's been asked about her serving problems in basically every press conference she's done for the last 3 years. The poor girl has had to politely answer questions about why she can't consistently hit one of tennis's most fundamental shots while everyone in the world watches and judges. And through all of that, she still managed to win 2 Grand Slam titles. Let me repeat that because it's genuinely insane. Coco Gauff won the US Open and the French Open while dealing with serving issues that were apparently so obvious they could have been fixed in 5 minutes. Her French Open victory last year was particularly remarkable because she was actively fighting her serve throughout the entire tournament. You could see her struggling with it. Commentators wouldn't shut up about it. And yet, she found a way to win the whole damn thing. Then came the US Open, where things got really emotional. Goff crashed out of the tournament while clearly battling her serving demons on court. You could see the frustration, the confusion, the mental anguish of knowing something's wrong but not being able to fix it in the moment. It was painful to watch, and apparently, according to Pat Cash, all of that suffering was completely unnecessary because the fix was right there waiting to be implemented this whole time. The sarcasm practically drips off Cash's comments. He's not being subtle about his criticism here. He's flat out saying that the tennis coaching establishment failed Goff by making a simple problem complicated and letting it drag on for years when it should have been solved immediately. Now, Goff has recently started working with coach Gavin McMillan, who's been portrayed as some kind of biomechanic guru who specializes in serving issues. McMillan previously helped Aryna Sabalenka fix her serving problems, and now he's been brought in to work his magic on Goff. And here's where Cash's comments get even more interesting. He actually worked alongside McMillan on Brandon Nakashima's serve, and he's giving McMillan credit for becoming this serving expert. But the underlying message is clear. This shouldn't have required a specialized biomechanic coach in the first place. Cash's point is that the technical flaws in Goff's serve were obvious and fixable from the beginning. Any competent coach with proper playing experience should have been able to identify and correct these issues quickly. The fact that it's taken years and required bringing in a specialized expert suggests a fundamental failure in how Goff's development was managed. Let's talk about what Cash is really saying here, because it goes beyond just Goff's serve. He's making a broader criticism about how modern tennis coaching has evolved, or possibly devolved, away from utilizing the knowledge and experience of former elite players. Cash pointed out that former players are selling decades of intellectual knowledge and experience, and that information is invaluable. But apparently, that expertise isn't being valued or utilized the way it should be. His comments about the recent split between Carlos Alcaraz and Juan Carlos Ferrero are particularly telling. Cash is suggesting that top players are increasingly willing to fire coaches who were former elite players in favor of specialists who may have never played at the highest level but claim expertise in specific technical areas. And while those specialists might have valuable knowledge, Cash is arguing that there's no substitute for the comprehensive understanding that comes from actually playing elite tennis yourself. When you've been there, done that, and won major titles, you see the game differently than someone who's only studied it academically or worked on specific technical aspects. Cash laid it out pretty bluntly. As an ex-player, you are selling your intellectual knowledge to a player. You are selling 30 or 40 years of knowledge and experience, and that is invaluable. They pay you a certain amount of money for that, and it needs to be valued, and it's not at times. Translation: former champions are getting disrespected, and their expertise is being undervalued in favor of trendy specialists and biomechanic experts who promise quick fixes but often just complicate simple problems. He continued, "They often shoot themselves in the foot and not following through with what they are doing or taking good advice. I've seen it so many times that players are getting rid of their coach, and we are also seeing it in football, where Chelsea are sacking their manager when they lose a couple of matches. Where has that got them?" The Chelsea reference is absolutely savage and perfectly illustrates his point. Chelsea has been a complete disaster in recent years precisely because they keep firing coaches instead of sticking with a long-term plan. The constant instability has prevented them from building anything sustainable. Cash is saying the same thing is happening in tennis, and players are suffering because of it. He hammered this point home even further. Sticking with a coach works, and you look back at the best players in tennis, and they have had success doing that. What we are seeing is a trend of players getting rid of coaches because of a few dollars here or there. This is where his criticism gets really pointed. He's not just talking about technical coaching anymore. He's talking about loyalty, long-term planning, and the willingness to work through challenges instead of constantly chasing the next shiny solution. And he didn't stop there. You give a player all your knowledge and you want them to work with you to consolidate that into a good career. What happens too often is they take that information and off they go. We are seeing that a lot, and by and large it doesn't work, and they shoot themselves in the foot. Shots fired. Cash is essentially saying that players are taking the knowledge from experienced coaches, using it to improve, and then dumping those coaches to chase specialized experts who promise to fix specific problems. But that approach rarely works long-term, because you lose the comprehensive guidance and stability that made you successful in the first place. Now let's circle back to Goff specifically, because Cash's broader criticism puts her serving situation in a new light. If we accept Cash's premise that her serve could have been fixed in 5 minutes, that means years of struggle, emotional distress, media scrutiny, and public criticism were all completely avoidable. Every press conference where she had to politely address her serving issues? Unnecessary. Every match where her serve broke down under pressure? Could have been prevented. Think about the mental toll that's taken on her. Goff is still incredibly young, and she's had to deal with constant questions about a fundamental weakness in her game that apparently had a simple solution this entire time. That's not just a coaching failure, it's a development failure that affected her mentally and emotionally. And yet, despite all of that, she still won 2 Grand Slams, which honestly makes her achievements even more impressive. She overcame a fixable technical flaw that nobody bothered to actually fix properly and still reached the pinnacle of tennis success. But here's the frustrating part. How much better could she be if someone had just fixed her serve properly from the beginning? How many more titles might she have won? How much mental energy could she have saved by not constantly worrying about whether her serve would hold up under pressure? Those questions are impossible to answer, but they highlight the cost of the coaching failures Cash is pointing out. The fact that Goff needed to bring in a specialized biomechanic coach to address serving issues that should have been handled years ago suggests a systematic problem in how tennis coaching operates. Why are basic technical fundamentals being treated like complex mysteries that require specialized expertise to solve? Cash worked alongside McMillan on Nakashima's serve, and he's clearly giving McMillan credit for his expertise. But his underlying message seems to be that this level of specialization shouldn't have been necessary in the first place. Former elite players should have the knowledge and experience to handle fundamental technical issues without needing to bring in biomechanic gurus. The comparison to Sabalenka is interesting because she also had major serving problems that McMillan helped solve. But Sabalenka's issues were arguably more severe. She was literally unable to complete matches without double faulting constantly. Her problems required serious intervention. Goff's serving issues, while frustrating, were never that catastrophic. She could serve. She just had mechanical inconsistencies that showed up under pressure. According to Cash, those inconsistencies should have been identified and corrected quickly by any competent coach with elite playing experience. So why weren't they? That's the million-dollar question that Cash's comments force us to ask. Was it because modern coaching has become too specialized, with everyone focusing on their specific area of expertise instead of taking a comprehensive approach? Was it because former elite players are being undervalued and their practical knowledge ignored in favor of academic specialists? Was it simply a case of the wrong coaches being involved at crucial points in Goff's development? Probably a combination of all three, if Cash's broader criticisms are accurate. The really frustrating part is that Goff's talent was always obvious. Everyone knew she was special from the moment she burst onto the scene. But instead of building on that talent with solid fundamentals and comprehensive coaching, she's had to spend years fighting technical issues that apparently could have been solved almost immediately. That's not just a missed opportunity, it's a coaching malpractice that potentially cost her titles, ranking points, and mental well-being. And Cash isn't just throwing shade for entertainment value here. He's genuinely concerned about a trend he's seeing in tennis where players are constantly switching coaches, chasing quick fixes, and undervaluing the comprehensive knowledge that former champions can provide. His point about the best players historically sticking with coaches long-term is spot on. Look at the most successful careers in tennis, and you'll almost always find stable, long-term coaching relationships that weathered ups and downs instead of constantly changing at the first sign of trouble. Federer had similar coaching arrangements for years. Nadal stuck with his uncle and then Carlos Moya. Djokovic maintained long-term relationships with his coaching team. Those stable relationships allowed for sustained excellence over decades because there was trust, comprehensive understanding, and the patience to work through problems instead of constantly starting over. Cash is warning that modern players are abandoning that model in favor of specialist hopping, and he's arguing that it rarely works out well long-term. You might fix one specific problem, but you lose the broader guidance and stability that actually creates sustained success. The Alcaraz-Ferrero split is a perfect example of what Cash is worried about. Here you had a former Grand Slam champion coaching a current Grand Slam champion, and the results were incredible. But now that relationship is over, and Alcaraz is searching for something else. Cash is clearly skeptical that whatever comes next will be better than what he already had. If you think former elite players deserve more respect in coaching, hit that like button and subscribe for more no-nonsense breakdowns of sports stories that matter.